This one prophecy in Ezekiel could explain the next global war. What if I told you that a 2,600-year-old prophecy is quietly coming true right now? Could a forgotten vision from an ancient prisoner explain today's rising global chaos? That could explain the next global war. And if this is true, it means everything is about to change faster than anyone is prepared for. You won't hear about it in the news, but it's in your Bible. And if it's right, the world is on the edge of something massive, something terrifying. We may already be living in the countdown. We're about to cross into a prophecy too accurate to ignore. And once it begins, there may be no way to stop it. Your window to prepare might be closing right now. This next part may reveal why the tipping point is already behind us. Could we already be witnessing the beginning stages of World War III? And something already in motion. The pieces may already be locked in place, and no one sees it coming. This might be your last chance to recognize what's unfolding before it's too late. Let's go back in time. Ezekiel was a prophet, taken as a prisoner to Babylon. He was far from his home in Israel, surrounded by pain, surrounded by destruction. But in that place of despair, God gave him visions of the future. And those visions may be more relevant today than ever before, because what Ezekiel saw might be happening again, right now, in front of your eyes. And in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39, he saw something no one could explain. A giant war, an invasion, led by strange names, in strange places. But those strange names are showing up again, this time on modern news reports. And those names are now being echoed by world leaders today. What do these strange names mean, and why are they reappearing now? But here's the twist. Those names, those places, they match up with modern nations today. This isn't ancient mythology. This is tomorrow's headline. This is the kind of pattern that once seen can never be unseen. What if current world powers are unknowingly fulfilling Ezekiel's prophecy? If that's true, we're standing on the edge of the final countdown. What Ezekiel saw could be the map for the next global war. Which countries will be the first to strike, and who will be the target? These aren't what-if questions anymore. They might be when. We're standing in one of the most mysterious, most important parts of Bible prophecy, Ezekiel 38. This chapter is like a locked vault filled with names, nations, and a war that hasn't happened yet. But it might happen sooner than any of us expected. But something strange is happening. Those ancient names are starting to line up with modern nations. Could the alliances being formed today match the battle lines Ezekiel described? It's not a coincidence. It's a warning, and it's unfolding in real time. And that's why we have to take this slow. We have to understand what these names mean. Because they're not just old words from a forgotten map. They are warning signs. Ignore these warnings, and you may not get another. And in just a moment, you'll see why ignoring them could be fatal. What danger is hidden in these names that modern readers overlook? Let's read Ezekiel 38, verse 2 together. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. This verse may hold the key to the next war, and few people even know it exists. Now, who or what is Gog? Let's start with the basics. Gog is not a country. Gog is a person, a leader, a ruler, a military figure who rises in the last days to lead a massive attack against Israel. Could we already be seeing the shadow of Gog rising on the world stage? What if the man who fulfills this prophecy is already in power? And once he rises, the world stage will be permanently changed. Has Gog already risen? And are we watching him on the news today? Every headline could be a clue, and we might be running out of time to piece it together. The next clue may point directly to headlines you've already seen. He comes from a place called Magog. But here's where things get very interesting. Ezekiel 38, verse 15 says, "And thou shalt come from thy place, out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee." This isn't just poetic, it's geographic. What modern superpower sits directly north of Israel? And what's its next move? Once we identify Magog, we may know where the next strike comes from. We're about to uncover how location becomes prophecy. The Bible says this invading army will come from the uttermost parts of the north. But Gog doesn't come alone. Who are the allies in this invasion? And are they forming right now? The coalition may already exist, and the trigger could be any day now. Let's break down the rest of the names Ezekiel gives us. Ezekiel 38, verse 5, adds more nations to the coalition. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Each of these names holds a modern mirror, and we're about to look into it. And when we do, we may find that we're staring at today's global alliances. Why are these specific ancient nations suddenly relevant in modern headlines? Now, this is where it gets even clearer. Get ready, because now we find out why they're coming. This is the moment where prophecy collides with purpose. So, why are they coming? Ezekiel tells us their reason. Verse 12 says, "To take a spoil and to take a prey." We're about to see how greed becomes the weapon of war. This coalition doesn't come just to destroy. They come to steal, to take resources, to take land, to wipe out Israel and claim its riches. If they succeed, it could ignite a global chain reaction of war and collapse. But wars started over resources rarely stay contained. What if the real reason for this war isn't political, but spiritual? And if it's spiritual, no army on earth will be able to stop it. And today, Israel has what these nations want: natural gas fields in the Mediterranean, fresh water from desalination plants. Will a future drought make Israel's water technology a target of war? Advanced technology in agriculture, defense, and medicine. Why has this land, above all others, been the center of hatred for thousands of years? There's more at stake here than land. It's the battle for destiny itself. How could Ezekiel describe 21st century geopolitics thousands of years ago? Because prophecy always sees what politics never can. This prophecy could be unfolding right before your eyes, and most people aren't even watching. Now here's the strange part. Many of these nations don't like each other. So why would these countries come together? Because what's coming is bigger than politics. It's supernatural. And in just a second, we'll reveal the one thing powerful enough to unite enemies. Stay with us. What comes next might explain tomorrow's headlines. What kind of hatred is strong enough to unite historical enemies? Ezekiel doesn't say they love each other. He says they share a common target: Israel. The same nation God chose is the one the world will choose to hate. And when enemies share the same aim, destruction comes fast. This alliance of enemies isn't random, it's prophetic. Why has the entire world turned its eyes and weapons toward this tiny nation? Hatred has a way of uniting enemies. This is not just military strategy, it's spiritual rebellion. And God says He will put hooks in their jaws. dragging them into this war even if they don't want it? What are the hooks God is using? And have they already been set in place? Ezekiel 38 verse 4 says, "And I will turn thee back, and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army." That's chilling, because when God says move, armies march. Because when God sets the battlefield, there's no escaping the fight. Could God be setting the stage for the final confrontation right now? And if He is, then time is shorter than we thought. It means God Himself is guiding this army, not because He supports it, but because He's using it to reveal His power. Why would God use Israel's enemies as part of His divine plan? This isn't just war, it's prophecy. And prophecy never unfolds quietly. Don't let the silence fool you. Something louder is coming. What if everything we're seeing unfold is following a script written before time began? And that script is racing toward its climax. You may be wondering, why would God allow this to happen? Why would He let nations rise against Israel? Ezekiel 38:16 gives us the answer. "And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel, that the heathen may know me. When I shall be sanctified in thee." What if God is using the darkest moment in history to reveal the greatest light? This war isn't the end. It's the unveiling. This war will be the moment the world realizes God is not silent. God is not weak. God is not dead. But the world may only see that truth after everything else collapses. Collapse may be the only language the world listens to. But what will He do to prove that to every eye watching? How will the world react when the invisible God shows undeniable power? He will bring victory to Israel not through weapons, but through His power. He will protect His people and crush their enemies. What happens next will shake the world to its knees, and what He does next will echo from Jerusalem to every corner of earth. What kind of divine judgment will fall, and how sudden will it be? And everyone will know God is real, but not everyone will rejoice. Some will tremble. Some will realize the truth, just one moment too late. Will this be the moment millions finally believe, or harden their hearts forever? The decision will be final, the outcome eternal. There won't be time for second chances. This chapter in Ezekiel is just the beginning of the prophecy. But this scene, these names, these nations, are the puzzle pieces. The pieces are moving into place faster than the world can react. The clock is ticking, louder than ever before. We're entering a moment when prophecy moves faster than politics. And they're all falling into place, but God has already written the end. And the ending is closer than anyone dares to admit. And what happens next might flip every worldly expectation upside down. What shocking twist has He declared that no one is expecting? Get ready, because the twist might be what wakes the world up. The twist might shatter every assumption about how this war will begin. The invasion will fail, the enemies will fall. But not before the world is shaken to its core. Let's slow it down and zoom in, because what Ezekiel says next is no small detail. The whole war turns toward one place: Israel. And what happens next will reveal why this tiny land holds the key to global prophecy. This is not just a conflict, this is a countdown. Ezekiel 38. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel. This one verse may hold the blueprint for the next global crisis. And if that blueprint is unfolding now, time is running out. This is huge. Ezekiel is describing a nation that was once scattered. a people that were once broken. But now, they are gathered again, living again, rising again. And that rising may have triggered the final prophetic chain of events. That nation is Israel. If this prophecy already came true, what's the next one to follow? What made this scattered people rise up after 2,000 years, and why now? We are not just reading history. We're watching prophecy unfold. Ezekiel said they would come out of many people, and they did. Jews came from Europe, Africa, Asia, America, Russia, all drawn back to one place, a supernatural gathering for a supernatural showdown. So, when Ezekiel mentions the land that is brought back from the sword, we know this isn't just poetry. It's a prophetic timestamp, measuring the moment history changes course. So now comes the big question. Why would Gog, this leader of the Northern Coalition, want to attack Israel? Let's look at Ezekiel 38 verse 12. It says, Gog's goal is to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited. In other words, Gog wants something Israel has. Maybe it's land, maybe it's resources, maybe it's power. But what if it's something deeper, something spiritual? What exactly is Israel hiding that could spark a global invasion? But here's where it gets interesting. For a long time, Israel didn't have anything the world wanted. It was a desert, small, poor. But today, Israel is a high-tech superpower, and the world is starting to take notice for all the wrong reasons. It has advanced cybersecurity, breakthrough medical technology, one of the strongest militaries in the world, natural gas fields in the Mediterranean. Is this hidden energy treasure the real reason the nations are circling? Could energy be the bait that draws the world into Ezekiel's war? We may already be seeing the pieces moving into place, and access to vital water systems and energy. Israel also holds religious significance like no other country on earth. Jerusalem is sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Controlling it means controlling influence over billions of people. And whoever takes Jerusalem may take control of the spiritual destiny of the world. And whoever claims it may ignite the final spiritual battle. This may not be just another battle. This could be the last one. So this war won't just be about greed. It will also be about spiritual warfare. Because at the heart of Israel's strength is not just what it has, but what it represents. God's promises. And that's exactly what Satan wants to erase. This isn't just geopolitical, it's deeply spiritual. And the enemies of God never sleep. They plot in the shadows, waiting for the signal. The timing is not random. Ezekiel doesn't say this war happens just any time. He says it happens in the latter years. That's prophetic language. That means the last days, the end-time season. Ezekiel 38 verse 16 says, And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days. And if this is the latter days, the next moments may hold the key to everything. Watch carefully, because prophecy doesn't always knock. It sometimes creeps in like fog. This is important. Let's be honest. There have always been wars. So how do we know this prophecy is near? What we're about to explore may separate this moment from every war in history. Prophecy is unfolding in slow motion. Israel's peace could be its greatest danger. One of the strangest parts of Ezekiel's vision is this. He says Israel is living in peace when the invasion begins. Ezekiel 38 verse 11 says, And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates. What does this mean? It means Israel feels safe, but who promised that safety? And what happens when it's broken? But maybe it's a false peace. Is this the deceptive calm before prophecy erupts into violence? The most dangerous moments are the ones we don't question. Could this be a time after a major peace treaty? What global agreement could open the door for this invasion to begin? Could it happen after some global agreement that guarantees Israel's security? Maybe that treaty is the one that the Antichrist confirms, the one Daniel speaks of in Daniel 9:27. If that's true, then are we watching the Antichrist prepare his stage right now? And the spotlight may already be warming his seat. The Antichrist won't announce himself. He'll be celebrated before the world sees his true face. If that's true, then this war could mark the beginning of the tribulation. This moment may not just be war. It may be the world's final warning. And once the tribulation begins, the clock won't stop until judgment is complete. This isn't a small raid. This is a massive military campaign. And the scale of it might rival the greatest wars in human history. Ezekiel 38 verse 9 says, "Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands and many people with thee." Storms don't wait for permission. They strike when hearts are asleep. And when this one hits, it may already be too late to respond. This could involve ground troops, drones, cyber attacks, naval strikes. The world may not realize it's under attack until it's too late. And remember, Israel is tiny. One missile can cross the country in minutes. A single gap in defense could open the gates to chaos. So, a strike like this would shake the entire world. Will this be the moment when the world finally realizes how vulnerable we truly are? Why Israel? Why not someone else? You might wonder, why does it always come back to Israel? Is there a deeper, invisible war over this tiny nation that the world refuses to see? We're about to uncover why this small land carries global weight. Here's the answer. Because God chose Israel. Not because they're perfect, not because they're powerful, but because of His promise. And that promise still stands, no matter how the world changes. What promise did God make that still holds the world accountable today? Genesis 12:3 says, "I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee." Israel is the center of God's redemptive plan. Jesus came through Israel. The Bible came through Israel. The final battle will come through Israel. Every act of redemption flows through this one nation, and Satan knows that. So every generation, he tries to wipe Israel out. But this time, his strategy could be more deceptive than ever before. This isn't just for prophecy teachers or Bible students. This is for you. But what role are you meant to play in this unfolding story? Get ready, because the answer to that question may be more urgent than you realize. Because if Ezekiel 38 is coming soon, then Jesus is coming sooner. And that means we don't have time to play games. The final countdown has begun, and what you do now echoes into eternity. What daily distractions are numbing us before the trumpet sounds? Don't live like prophecy is just theory, because if you wait for proof, it may already be too late to act. It's a countdown. You're about to see how millions might miss the final call. If you're already following Jesus, stand firm. If you're not, turn to Him now. What you do in the next moment may determine your eternity. The longer people wait, the harder their hearts may become. The world will know the Bible was true all along. But by the time they realize it, the ground may already be shaking beneath them. But will it be too late for those who mocked it? And those who belong to Jesus will not fear. They will shine. Some believers will falter when the pressure mounts. And yet, those who endure will become living prophecies of God's faithfulness. The armies have gathered. The skies are full of jets. Tanks roll through the desert. Explosions ring out near the mountains of Israel. This is not fiction. This is prophecy coming alive on the battlefield. Everything looks like a setup for total annihilation. The nations that Ezekiel listed, Magog, Persia, Cush, Libya, Gomer, and Togarmah, they've all joined together. It's not just a local fight. It's a full-blown invasion. Israel stands alone. No help, no warning, no escape. Even the strongest defense may crumble when the world turns its back. Why is Israel abandoned by allies in her greatest hour of need? And to many, it looks like the end of the Jewish nation once again. But keep watching, because what looks like defeat might actually be divine setup. The silence of allies will echo louder than enemy threats. Is history repeating itself? Or is this the moment of redemption? What does it look like when God Himself enters a battlefield? This is not a quiet moment. It's not gentle. It's fierce. It's loud. It's terrifying. But even divine fire will not leave the innocent untouched. But who or what will survive when God's fury is fully unleashed? Let's read Ezekiel 38:18-19. And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord God, that my fury shall come up in my face. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Let's stop right there. Did you hear that? My fury shall come up in my face. This isn't distant judgment. This is personal intervention from the throne of heaven. That means God is not sitting back. He's not watching from a distance. This is the moment the Lion of Judah roars from Zion. What line did the nations cross that triggered this divine explosion? The moment the nations go too far. The moment He shows the world who truly rules. Verse 19 continues, Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. Did you catch that? A great shaking. God causes an earthquake. Everything man built to feel safe is now cracking at the foundation. The world may not be ready for what's coming, but the ground is. Buildings begin to sway. Mountains tremble. Soldiers panic. Evacuation routes collapse before they can be used. This next scene is where strategy fails, and prophecy takes over. Missiles misfire. The ground splits open beneath marching feet. Nothing is stable, and the enemy begins to fall apart. If this is only the beginning, what horrors lie ahead in the full wrath of God? Brace yourself, because the second strike will be even more devastating. Ezekiel 38 verse 20 continues, So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. But God doesn't stop there. Ezekiel 38 verse 21 says, And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord God. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. Next, we watch how God's judgment turns unity into confusion. This means the invading armies turn on each other. They begin to fight among themselves. Alliances forged over decades dissolve in minutes. What happens when trust vanishes in the heart of war? Why would allied nations suddenly become enemies in the heat of battle? friendly fire, confusion, chaos. Trust breaks down faster than the weapons can reload. The next move belongs to God, and no nation will be able to stop it. Leaders give the wrong orders. Split-second decisions become catastrophic blunders. Are global commanders being spiritually blinded in real time? God is causing them to destroy themselves. The weapons built for domination are turning inward. It's like a replay of what God did in the Old Testament when enemies came against Israel and ended up wiping each other out. This is a pattern. History is not just repeating, it's escalating. How many times has God already used this strategy in history? And are we next? No leader is in control now, not one. And then comes the fire. But what exactly is this fire, and where does it strike first? Verse 22 says, "And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands, an overflowing rain, and great hailstones, fire, and brimstone," the kind of judgment that fell on Sodom and Gomorrah. What warning signs are we ignoring that they once ignored too? The kind of fire that burns the sky and breaks the earth. Is this the moment the earth itself begins to groan under divine wrath? Now imagine you're watching this unfold, the world's strongest armies melting away. What would it feel like to see superpowers vaporized in real time? Not by bullets, not by bombs, but by the hand of God. Every camera in the world would be pointed at Israel. Every news anchor in the world would be speechless. Every nation would suddenly remember, there is a God in heaven. He's proving that no matter how powerful men become, no matter how many nations rise up, no matter how smart or connected or armed they are nothing without him. What does this mean for world leaders who believe they're untouchable? And when the world touches his people, they are touching the apple of his eye, and he will fight for them. Could this be the final line nations cross before divine retaliation is unleashed? Let's go back to Ezekiel 39 verse 6. God says, "And I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am the Lord." That's not just fire on the battlefield. That's fire going back to their nations. Islands, distant cities will feel it. This isn't just about Israel. This is a worldwide judgment. And the message is clear. They shall know that I am the Lord.